I was still holding the $3,000 receipt in my hand when my husband looked me in the eyes and said, "You should wait outside. This is a family dinner." We were at a very fancy restaurant, the kind of place where the lights are low and the menus don't have prices listed. My husband's whole family was there, his parents, his sister, and her husband. I had made the reservation and planned everything. It was supposed to be a celebration for his new job title. From the beginning, I noticed how they treated me. They talked around me like I wasn't there, laughing at inside jokes I didn't understand. When I tried to join the conversation, they ignored me or quickly changed the subject. I kept quiet, thinking maybe I was overreacting. The dinner went on for hours. Everyone ordered expensive dishes, lobster, steak, multiple bottles of wine, and no one even glanced at the prices. I assumed they were all going to split the bill. When the check came, the waiter placed it in the center of the table. No one moved. My husband gave me a quick smile and said, "Can you get this one?" I forgot my wallet. Then, one by one, the others gave their excuses. His sister said she left her purse in the car. His dad said he didn't expect to pay tonight. His mom laughed and said, "You're doing well, right?" I didn't want to cause a scene in a crowded place, so I paid $3,000 using my card and signed the bill while they continued laughing and talking among themselves. After the payment, his sister stood up and said, "Let's take a family photo." They all gathered together, smiling. I got up to join them, but his mom said, "Oh, no, we just want one with the family." Confused, I looked at my husband. He looked straight at me and said, "You should wait outside." I stood there for a second, not sure what to say. No one else looked at me, they were already posing. I turned and walked outside, standing by the front door still holding the receipt. I looked at it again, the total was clear, $3,000. I took a picture of it with my phone and just stood there. Something shifted in me after everything I had done. After paying for that entire dinner, they had the nerve to treat me like I didn't belong. They had no idea what they had just done. That moment outside the restaurant was quiet, but it meant everything. I had always tried to be kind and patient, but now I had seen them clearly, and they were going to remember this night because I would make sure of it. I grew up in a small town where my parents worked hard, and we didn't have much. I learned to take care of myself early, studying hard, working through college, and later starting a small tech company. It wasn't easy, but after a few years, it became successful. I didn't become a millionaire overnight, but I was doing well. I had my own place, a good income, and I didn't rely on anyone. That's when I met my husband. He came from a family that looked perfect on the outside. Big house, private schools, fancy vacations, and a family name they were proud of. But it was just that, on the outside. He spoke like someone who never had to worry about money. At first, I found it charming. He told me he worked in finance, and I believed him. As we started dating, I noticed he never paid for much. He always had excuses, forgot his card, paycheck delayed, bad month. I didn't think much of it back then. I was happy to pay. I liked being generous, and I wasn't keeping score. I thought we were building a future together and that things would even out later. His parents were polite at first, but I could tell they didn't see me as one of them. They asked odd questions. What does your father do? Are you renting or do you actually own your place? Stuff like that. I brushed it off. I wanted them to like me. I wanted to be part of his world. After we got married, the truth became clearer. He wasn't doing well financially. In fact, he had nothing saved. His finance job was barely paying, he had credit card debt and no real plan. When I offered to help, he let me. I paid for most things, our apartment, groceries, vacations. I even helped with gifts for his parents and sibling. They thought he was providing, but really it was all coming from me. Still, I didn't say anything. I told myself it didn't matter. I believed love was more important than money. I believed that if I just stayed patient, things would get better. I wanted his family to like me, so I went along with things. I smiled when they made small jabs, stayed quiet when they left me out of conversations, and let it go when they made decisions without me. I just wanted peace. But something changed after that dinner. It wasn't about the money, I had spent more before and didn't think twice. It was how they treated me, like I didn't belong, like I was just there to serve a purpose. After everything I had given, they still saw me as less. That night, standing outside with that $3,000 receipt in my hand, I finally saw them clearly, and I saw myself too. I wasn't some lost girl trying to fit in. I had built my life on my own. I had worked hard to get where I was. I didn't need them, and I didn't need to prove myself to people who only saw what they wanted to see. They thought they had pushed me aside. What they didn't know was that they had just given me the reason to stop holding back. After that dinner, I couldn't stop thinking. My mind kept going back to everything I had done since we got married. I started writing things down, bank statements, receipts, messages, anything that showed what I had paid for. I didn't plan to do anything with it, I just needed to see it all clearly. I started with the rent. I had been paying it every single month since we moved in together. He always said he would send me his half later, but it never came. I moved on to the car. We used mine. I paid for the gas, insurance, and maintenance. When something broke, I fixed it. Then I looked at the holidays, every birthday gift, every Mother's Day and Father's Day card, every Christmas present for his family. I paid for all of it. I even remembered the time I bought his sister a designer bag for her wedding. He said it was tradition and that it would make a good impression, so I did it, even though I didn't know her that well. I added the honeymoon, flights, hotel, food, it was all me. He said his account was frozen at the time and that he would handle things next trip. There never was a next trip. I kept going, adding little things too, groceries, phone bills, repairs, clothes. All those times he said he'd get the next one, but the next one never came. I felt sick as the list got longer. I added it all up. In 2 years of marriage, I had spent over $70,000 keeping everything going. It shocked me. I hadn't even realized it was that much. I just kept giving because I thought that's what people in love do. But looking at it now, it didn't feel like love. It felt like I was being used. That dinner wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't just about them forgetting their wallets or asking me to leave the table. It was part of a pattern. I had always been the one giving, and they had always been the ones taking. They just got bolder over time. First, it was small things. Then, it was everything. And he never once stopped it, not once did he say, "She's done enough," not once did he stand up for me or say thank you. He acted like it was normal, like I owed them something. As I kept writing, I felt something change inside me, not loud, not fast, just a slow, cold understanding. I had been blind for too long. I thought I was building a life with someone who cared, but all I was doing was funding a lie. They wanted to act like I didn't matter, like I was just the person who paid the bills and stayed quiet. But I was done with that. I wasn't angry in the way that makes you shout. I was calm, and I was ready. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew this, I would never let them take advantage of me again. A few days after the dinner, I sat down with my husband and told him I was sorry. I said maybe I overreacted and that I wanted to make things better with his family. I smiled, spoke softly, and played the role they expected from me. Inside, I felt nothing, but on the outside, I acted kind and calm. I told him I had an idea, a weekend trip for just his family at a beautiful cabin. I would book somewhere peaceful with a lake, nice views, and a big kitchen for shared meals. He looked surprised at first, then pleased. He smiled like he had won something, hugged me, and said that meant a lot to him. Soon after, I told his parents and his sister. They were thrilled. His mom said, "See, she's not so bad after all." His sister sent a message with a bunch of heart emojis. They acted like I had come crawling back, like I had learned my place. I said they didn't need to bring anything, I would cover it all, food, gas, even some wine. I made sure they felt special. I called it a gift, something I wanted to do from the heart. What they didn't know was that I booked everything under my name, the cabin, the rental van, the food orders, the boat rental, every detail. And I made sure the rental had certain rules. The booking was for a set time only. Access codes would stop working at checkout. The security cameras were set to alert me if anything was damaged. The rules were strict, but I didn't tell them that part. I let them believe they had full control. I planned everything down to the minute, picking a cabin far from the city, quiet and private. I knew they would love it. I knew they would think I had forgiven them, that I was trying hard to fit in again. I acted excited, picking out matching towels, printing cute little welcome cards, baking cookies, and packing board games. Everything was perfect. I made it look like I was doing all of this because I cared. But it wasn't about kindness. It was about showing them what I could do and how easily I could take it all away. I didn't yell, argue, or bring up the dinner again. I let them believe what they wanted. I let my husband brag about how thoughtful I was. He said things like, "She really knows how to take care of everyone," and they all smiled. No one thought to ask how much it cost. No one offered to help. Just like before. That weekend was going to be the last time I played along. I wasn't going to explain myself or try to earn their respect anymore. I wasn't angry in the loud way. I was calm and quiet, but every move I made was for a reason. They had laughed at me after that restaurant bill. They had treated me like I was lucky to be near them. Now they were walking into something they didn't even see coming. I had planned every moment to look perfect on the outside, but hidden in all the comfort, I left small clues. I made sure everything was in my name. I had backup plans for every detail. And most of all, I had a final step ready, something they wouldn't expect. They thought this trip was a gift. They were right. It was a gift, but not for them. It was a gift to myself, a quiet goodbye wrapped in kindness with a twist they wouldn't forget. The weekend finally came. Everyone packed their bags full of excitement. My husband was in a good mood, smiling more than usual. He kept saying how great the trip was going to be. His parents and sister were ready too, wearing expensive jackets and sunglasses, acting like they were heading to a private resort. When we arrived at the cabin, they all stopped and stared. The place was beautiful, wooden walls, large windows, a view of the lake, and a hot tub on the deck. Inside, it was even better. The furniture was stylish, the rooms were big, and everything smelled like fresh pine and new wood. They looked impressed. His mom said, "Wow, you really went all out." I just smiled and said, "Only the best for family." I showed them around. Each room had soft blankets, robes, and little treats I had set out ahead of time. I had even printed little signs with their names on them for fun. They laughed and said it was cute. I poured wine for everyone and started dinner while they relaxed. That first night, I made their favorite foods, letting them sit and enjoy while I cooked. I served the meal with candles and soft music. They all complimented me. His sister said, "You're such a good hostess." His dad said, "Our son is lucky to have you." My husband just smiled proudly. No one offered to help. They never did. The next day, I booked spa services and a boat ride. They loved every second. I took photos of them, laughed at their jokes, and acted like everything was perfect. They talked about how great the weekend was and how kind I had been to plan it all. My husband walked around like a king, saying, "See, she knows how to treat people." They thought I was back to normal. They believed I had let everything go. No one mentioned the dinner. They thought it was forgotten. I let them believe it. I was calm, kind, and generous the whole time, making sure they had everything they wanted, extra snacks, blankets for the cold nights, and wine in the evening. I asked them about their lives and listened closely. I did everything right, just like they always wanted. But I left one thing behind. In the bedroom my husband and I were using, I placed something on the nightstand, a copy of the restaurant receipt. I had printed it out and folded it neatly. On top of it, I placed a small note that said, "Never forget." I didn't mention it. I didn't draw attention to it. I just left it there like a quiet whisper. The weekend went on smoothly. They laughed, played games, and praised my husband. They kept saying how happy they were that I was finally acting like part of the family. But that one piece of paper sat in plain sight, waiting. The cabin was warm, the food was good, and they were relaxed. They didn't notice that something was different, that behind every kind word and thoughtful gesture, I was quietly watching. They didn't know the weekend was not a thank you. It was a message, and I had just begun. The weekend felt like it had gone perfectly. Everyone was full, happy, and relaxed. They had eaten well, taken hundreds of pictures, and soaked for hours in the hot tub. They kept saying how this was the best trip they'd had in years. My husband was especially proud, acting like he had made it all happen. Every time someone praised the weekend, he smiled like he earned it. That last evening, they opened a few more bottles of wine and sat in the hot tub, laughing loudly. His mom talked about planning another family trip. His sister joked that I should always be in charge of vacations from now on. They didn't know I was already finished with all of them. While they were sipping wine and floating in bubbles, I packed my small bag quietly. I had already placed everything I needed in the car earlier that day. I didn't slam any doors or make a sound. I left the lights off and moved carefully. No one noticed me walking out. They were too busy enjoying themselves. I got in my car and drove down the road to a little cafe that opened early. It was dark outside, but the cafe lights were warm. I ordered tea and sat by the window. I opened my phone and sent a short message to my husband. The reservation ends at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Hope you brought your wallet. I turned off my phone right after that. The cabin had digital locks and automatic codes. I had set the checkout time myself when I booked it. At 7 a.m. sharp, the code would expire. The doors would lock. The alarm system would turn on. And since everything was under my name, no one else could contact the owner or get in. I sipped my tea slowly, watching the sun rise. I imagined them waking up after a long night of drinking, wet towels on the floor, empty bottles on the table. Then someone would try to open the door to get fresh air or grab something from the car, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic would set in. They'd try all the doors, check the windows, search for the code. They'd look for me, but I'd be gone. No phone calls would go through. My husband would check his messages and find only the one I left him, reading it over and over again, finally realizing that I had walked away. I could picture them standing outside half-dressed, barefoot or in wet clothes from the night before, no ride, no access to the house, no idea what to do next. Eventually, they would have to call for help, maybe get a weak signal and order an Uber, or walk down the long gravel road until someone passed by. But no matter what, they'd leave that cabin cold, confused, and embarrassed. They had laughed when they thought I was weak. They had smiled when I paid the bill. They had rested while I worked to please them. Now they were standing in the mess they created, and I wasn't there to clean it up. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to explain anything. They would figure it out on their own. I had done everything quietly, but the message was loud. I finished my tea, took a deep breath, and looked outside at the road ahead. This time, I was driving toward peace, and they were finally left behind. When I got back home after the trip, I didn't waste time. I already knew what I had to do. I walked into our apartment, looked around, and felt nothing. The place felt cold, even though it was clean and quiet. I had paid for every part of it, and now I was done. The first thing I did was open my laptop and go straight to the bank's website. I removed my name from every account we shared, closed the joint savings account, and changed the passwords for anything that had my name or money linked to it. I also blocked him from using my credit card since he had copies saved on his phone. I didn't want him to spend another dollar that belonged to me. Next, I dealt with the car. It was under both our names, but I was the one making all the payments, the down payment, the insurance, every monthly bill. I called the dealership and explained that I wanted to sell it back. They told me what I needed to do, and I handled it the next day. I didn't even tell him. He could figure it out when he went looking for it. Then I wrote to a lawyer. I didn't cry or hesitate. I just explained the situation and asked to start the divorce process. The lawyer responded quickly and asked for details. I had saved every receipt, every message, every payment. I had proof of everything I had done. I sent it all, but I wasn't finished. I made a list, line by line. I wrote down every single expense I had covered since we got married: rent, food, clothes, gifts, trips, bills, his personal spending, family events. I even added small things like streaming services, furniture, and gas. I added everything. Then I calculated the total. It was more than $70,000. After that, I added interest. I looked up the fair rate, added it in, and printed the final document. I wrote at the top in bold letters, amount owed. Then I wrote a short message: I was generous. You are ungrateful. Here's the truth in numbers. I mailed a copy to his parents and one to his sister. I knew they wouldn't like it. I knew they'd say I was being dramatic or unfair, but I didn't care. They had treated me like a wallet with no feelings. Now they could see just how much that wallet had given. Lastly, I opened my phone and scrolled to a photo I had taken from the restaurant just after I paid the $3,000 bill. In the picture, they were all laughing, drinks in hand, smiling wide, proud of themselves. I added a caption, $3,000 well spent. Then I hit send. I didn't wait for replies. I didn't want fake apologies or excuses. I wanted them to know that I saw everything clearly now. The games were over. The money was cut off. So was my time, my energy, and my care. They had made me feel small. Now they could feel what it was like to be left with nothing. After I sent everything, I turned off my phone for a full day. I needed peace and silence. When I turned it back on the next morning, the messages came in fast. My husband had called over 10 times, leaving long texts trying to explain. He said he didn't mean to hurt me, asked me to come home and talk, and promised to fix everything. Then came the messages from his family. His mom left a voicemail saying, "You've embarrassed this family." His dad said I had gone too far. His sister wrote, "This isn't how you handle private matters." They weren't sorry for what they had done. They were just upset they got caught. None of them said thank you. None of them apologized for the money, the lies, or how they treated me. All they cared about was how they looked now that I had pulled away. That's when I decided to tell the full story, but not to them. I opened Reddit and wrote a post using a throwaway account. I didn't share names, photos, or any details that could link it to me directly. I told it like a story, how I paid for everything, how I was pushed aside at dinner after spending $3,000, and how they treated me like an outsider. I wrote about the trip, the exit, and the invoice. I didn't ask for advice or pity. I just wanted the truth out there. It blew up overnight. People started commenting in the thousands. Most were shocked. Others were angry for me. Many said, "You did the right thing." And some even shared their own stories. The post was shared to other subreddits. It started trending. Someone made a meme out of the restaurant photo with the $3,000 well spent line. Then things got bigger. Someone from my husband's work must have seen the post. People online began connecting dots. Screenshots from his and his family's public accounts started to appear. Old comments they had made about gold diggers, lazy wives, and keeping women in line were found and reposted. The internet didn't hold back. His company got tagged. Then they got emails. A few days later, I heard from a mutual friend that he had lost his job, quietly let go, no public reason, but we both knew why. His family tried to fight back. His mom posted a long message online about how I had betrayed the family, but it didn't work. People had seen enough. They knew the truth, and the internet rarely forgets. For once, they had to deal with the shame they always tried to put on me. I didn't gloat. I didn't reply to their messages. I stayed silent and watched everything unfold. They had made fun of me for years, used me, and pushed me aside. Now the world saw them as they really were. It wasn't about revenge. It was about showing them I was done hiding, done pleasing, and done staying quiet. They thought they could treat me however they wanted. Now they were living with the results. After everything happened, I booked a vacation for myself, just me. No one to answer to, no one to plan for, no one to please. I picked a quiet place by the beach, the kind of place where I could hear the waves at night and walk barefoot in the morning. I didn't make a schedule. I slept when I felt like it, ate whatever I wanted, and took long walks without checking my phone. I read books I had forgotten I owned. I watched the sunset every evening and listened to music I loved but hadn't played in years. For the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. I remembered what it felt like to be free, not just free from them, but free to just be me without guilt, without fear, without needing approval. After I got back, I slowly started building a new life. I didn't rush anything. I kept things simple. I focused on work, spent more time with people who truly cared, and finally cleaned out the things in my apartment that reminded me of the past. Eventually, I started dating again. Not because I needed someone, but because I wanted to see what else was out there. I met kind, respectful people who listened when I spoke and didn't expect me to carry everything. It felt new. It felt good. I also started doing things I used to love. I went back to painting, something I had given up during the marriage. I joined a weekend hiking group. I even started learning guitar just for fun. All the small parts of me that had been pushed aside slowly came back, and I welcomed them. I changed how I handled people too. I started setting boundaries, strong ones. I didn't let anyone talk over me. I didn't let anyone guilt me into doing things. If someone tried to take too much, I stepped away. I protected my peace like it was something valuable, because it was. The post I had shared on Reddit kept growing. Months later, I still got messages from strangers. Some said, "You gave me strength." Others said, "You're a hero." Many said, "Thank you for speaking up." It surprised me at first, but it felt good to know my story helped others. Some people sent long messages about their own lives, women, men, even couples who had gone through similar things. They said reading my story made them feel less alone. That made everything I had been through feel worth it. One night, I sat alone on my balcony looking up at the sky and thought about everything. For years, I had made myself smaller to fit into their world. I had said yes when I wanted to say no. I had stayed quiet when I should have spoken. I had paid and given and waited for love, for approval, for peace. But I had lost myself in the process. Now I was done shrinking. I didn't need their world anymore. I had my own, and it was mine to shape freely and fully. I wasn't trying to prove anything now. I was just living, and that was enough. A few months passed. Life was calm and quiet, just how I liked it. Then one afternoon, I opened my mailbox and found a white envelope with fancy gold writing. I didn't recognize it right away, but when I opened it, I let out a small laugh. It was a wedding invitation from my ex-husband's sister. She was getting married again and for some reason had decided to invite me. Maybe she thought I had moved on and would forget everything. Maybe she thought I would feel honored to be included. Or maybe she just wanted to look good by pretending we were still family. The card had all the usual details: date, time, dress code. Then I saw the RSVP card. At the bottom was a space where you could write your dietary needs. I stared at that blank space for a long time. Then I picked up a pen and wrote just one simple line: I don't eat with people who throw me out after I feed them. I didn't stop there. I went to my drawer and pulled out the clean printed copy of the restaurant receipt, the same one from the night I had paid $3,000 for dinner and was told to wait outside because it was a family moment. I had saved that paper flat and perfect, like a quiet reminder of who they really were. I folded the RSVP card neatly and placed it in the envelope. Then I slid the receipt in behind it, fully visible, untouched and unfolded. I didn't write anything else. Just before sealing the envelope, I added one more note on a small card: they should have kept the receipt. I was always going to return the favor. Then I mailed it. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't wonder what they'd say. I already knew. Maybe they would call me rude. Maybe they'd call me dramatic. But deep down, they'd understand exactly what it meant. That receipt was more than paper. It was a line they crossed, a moment they thought I'd forget, but I never did. They thought I was done. They thought I'd stay quiet. They were wrong. Sometimes the best reply is silence with a message they'll never forget. And this time, it was their turn to feel small. Betrayal isn't the end. It's the start of your strength. Share this with someone who needs hope today. Like, comment, and follow for real-life moments of healing, self-love, and quiet courage. Your journey to peace and power begins now. You're not alone. Let's walk this new path forward together.